Welcome back to Our Issues Milwaukee. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. We have been discussing foster care this morning, and on any given day, there are approximately 2,000 children in out-of-home care right here in Milwaukee County. My next guests are Nicole Ostrowski-Grasset, and we're also being joined by Stephanie Allen. They both work for SAINTA, and we'll have them tell you more about what they do at SAINTA in just a bit. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Thank you both for being here. And Nicole, if you would, first tell us what it is you do at SAINTA.
I am the Community Engagement Supervisor, so our role on our team is really to go out and find qualified parents who are willing to partner with biological families and social workers to help foster and keep children safe in our community.
Okay, and what is it that you do to help make a difference in the lives of children?
So I work with Nicole as well on the community engagement team, but I'm also a former foster mom.
All right.
Now adoptive mom. So
okay, so you can give us a really good perspective of the importance of foster care as well as adoption. So I thank you both for being here. SAINTA is formerly known as St. Amelia Lakeside, and when I say that you have a rich history, that is an understatement because you go back to the 1800s.
Yes.
Yeah, talk about how long you've been coming to the rescue of children who are in need and the importance of how that has worked for this day and age.
Sure. So we started as an orphanage actually for children whose parents died in a cholera epidemic, and now after hundreds of years we've evolved here. And we are a program with a multifaceted service line. We help children with their mental health needs. We help them obviously in foster care and adoption settings, with education, with residential care, and school-based services. So it's a wide variety of ways that we try to service the whole family and the needs of the child.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's something really important about that, because if we don't do that, if nobody steps in and helps these children, they're going to grow to be adults in our community, and we need to make sure to take care of them now so that they grow into the types of kids and adults that we would like them to be.
Absolutely, and there is a huge need for foster parents in our community. Every month, approximately 100 new Milwaukee kids are removed from their homes, and there are many different reasons: abuse, neglect, or some other form of maltreatment. If you would talk a little bit about the importance of being willing to open up your home to be a foster parent.
right, you know, it really just, you know, to love a child. That's really all a child wants, is someone to be their champion, someone who will, you know, be there for them, to love them, to care for them, to, you know, let them know that, you know, they can be trusted. And, you know, it really takes anybody that has an open heart, anybody that has patience, to be able to do the job. It's not easy. I will never tell someone it's easy, but, you know, you put in the work, and the child gets the benefit, and you get to reap the benefit as well.
Yeah, because I've met so many foster parents who really get that sense of accomplishment when those kids come back as an adult and thank them for taking them into their home and really making them feel like family. So thank you for sharing that. And you now are an adoptive parent, so being a foster parent and temporarily opening your home can lead to some long-term beauty of a real union.
Right, that is very true. Now, when we got into foster care, we didn't do it for adoption. We just wanted to be able to help, you know, a family. And so our children came up, you know, for adoption, and we said, they're already here, we love them, we care for them, you know, we would want them to stay with us. And so that's, you know, if the child is not able to be safely reunified with the family, you know, that option is open.
All right, that's good to know. So this is a great time for us to really talk about who can be a foster parent, because a lot of times people think I have to have this extravagant job, this huge house, and all this money, but that's not necessarily the case, right, ladies? So paint the picture of who can be a foster parent.
Yeah, that's not the case at all. So I think most people don't realize how qualified they really are. It's quite simple. Naturally, you'll go through an assessment process because we need to make sure we're placing children with safe families. But some of the basic requirements, you have to be at least 21 years old. You have to have a stable income, so your income needs to exceed your expenses. You'll pass criminal background checks, we'll do reference checks. Naturally, you'll need space in your home, but that doesn't mean you need a whole extra bedroom bedroom. So a lot of people think, well, I don't have an extra bedroom in my home. If you already have children in your home and you'd like that child to share a bedroom with the foster child, that's perfectly okay. But I think more importantly than all of those types of qualifications, it's just really about loving children, about wanting to have an impact, about having patience, like Stephanie mentioned, compassion for these kids, and then a really willingness to work as part of a team. So foster care is, our foster parents have the toughest job on our team, there's no question, but we surround them with so much support and education and training, so they're not alone.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's important to mention also that people can be single, married, or partnered.
Absolutely.
So it really boils down to giving a child a place they can call home. And I think that that's the beauty of it all. So what are some of the expectations of a foster parent? And Stephanie, since you've been there, done that, you can kind of paint the picture for that.
So
as well.
really just treat them like you would your own children. You know, you would, spend time with them, help them with their studies, go to school, make sure that they're staying on track in school. Taking them on walks, taking them on, to the park. Normal things that you would do with your normal children is what we ask, for people to do. Loving them, giving them guidance, giving them structure. Because a lot of the kids come in care, they have a lot of trauma history, and so because of that, these children need structure. They need to know, okay, this is the right way to do things. This is not so great way to do things, but let's figure out a new way how to handle certain situations. And it's just taking that patience again, just to be able to say, I'm here to help you, I'm here to work with you, and be that parent that you need me to be.
Yeah, patience, compassion, understanding, all of those things play a role. And I think you said something key, that a lot of times some of these kids see more than some of us adults have seen in our whole lifetime. And you got to remember that it's hard for a child to kind of figure out some of the things that they've witnessed, or they don't understand why their parent or parents can't take care of them. So there is that challenge that's there, but all of the things that we just described can help in dealing with that. And Nicole, you talked about some of the special programming and the education that exists with SAINTA. You have what's referred to as trauma care. Tell us more about that.
So SAINTA has become a leader, a national leader in trauma-informed care. And it's really about a philosophy and a practice that we live and breathe by at SAINTA, and we teach our caregivers to do the same. It's this really complex brain science. That's what it's based in, neurobiology. But what it really is it's talking about, so this child has a prevalence of trauma. So they naturally are detained because they have had an experience of abuse or neglect or some form of maltreatment. But like you just said, there's probably more to that. So perhaps their home had domestic violence going on, or maybe parental substance abuse, or whatever the case, but it goes on and on and on. And so there's a prevalence of trauma there that is going to have a huge impact on these kids. It's going to impact their development. It's impacting them now, but it's also going to impact their future if we don't figure out how to kind of help them through that. And one of the best things we can do to help them is kind of equipping our caregivers with the tools they would need to be trauma-informed caregivers, so that they can build relationships with these kids, because truly a relationship is kind of the ultimate healer for these children. And our foster parents give our kids a reason to be again. They connect them to things that are important. And so I think Stephanie could talk a little bit too about how she's seen this in her home, but it's such an important thing, and it makes all the difference.
Stephanie, go ahead.
Well, what was interesting is, I like to give the example of when my 7-year-old daughter came into care. She would cry, she would have meltdowns at 7. And these are the same things that we see 2-year-olds do. But the problem is, we never looked at it as, well, why is she having a meltdown? And so that's what trauma-informed care has us do, is not to say, what's wrong with you, but it's to look at what happened to you. And so because of the prevalence with the trauma, I had to take a step back and say, okay, there's a reason why she can't voice what's wrong with her. And so I have to give her that ability to say, what is the matter? And so it's just like teaching a 2-year-old when they're having a meltdown. You say, what's wrong? How can mama help you? And so I had to say to my 7-year-old, what is the matter? How can mom help you? And even though we may say a 7-year-old shouldn't be having a tantrum, we don't understand that. but it's because she's had that trauma and she hasn't had that outlet to say, I'm upset because, and been safe to say it, you know, be in a safe place to verbalize why she's upset. And so it's given us a 360 turnaround, just giving her the opportunity to say, I'm frustrated because I don't understand my math. I don't want to have a meltdown, but I'm frustrated. And so we teach her regulation techniques on how to calm herself down and, you know, bouncing a ball, coloring a picture before she starts homework, just to kind of give her that decompression from school to home.
Wow, I love that. And something that's very important to mention is the placement of siblings. A lot of times you have a number of children who are used to being together, who grew up together, and to separate them sometimes makes that trauma even worse. So you need foster parents who are willing to take in siblings and groups of kids if possible, right?
Absolutely. You know, everything changes for these kids in an instant. So even if their home situation wasn't good, they're being removed from their parents and their bedroom and their bed and their neighborhood probably, and maybe even their school and their dog or their cat, and everything that was once familiar is gone. And if they can go through that with a sibling, the healing power that comes from those 2 or 3 or 4 kids staying together, it changes everything.
I just wanted to bring that out. And another thing is the whole scenario of aging out of foster care, because I think for a long time, not a lot of attention was given to when a kid turns 18, they're kind of on their own, and in many instances they haven't learned those life skills, how to get a job, how to have a bank account, things of that nature. And with the different things that have taken place over time, it has been realized that there needs to be some type of skills given to young people who will be aging out of foster care. So St. A has programs and services that are catered to that as well.
Right. So the truth is, teenagers need families. They need families first and foremost. If we can't find them that because there aren't enough available families willing to take them in, then kind of our plan B is to make sure we can still give them those types of skills that you're talking about through our independent living program. So you know, you think about yourself as a teenager and you wonder, would I have been ready to have no family, have absolutely no one to kind of fall back on or help pick me up, or a place to go for Christmas, or who calls you on your birthday if you don't have a family? I mean, it's a real thing that these kids are experiencing, and so what we need for them first is a family. So I would plea to your listeners that teenagers are children, and they really need people to step forward and help them learn those life skills in a family setting. But again, if that can't happen for them, we at least need to prepare them for a huge world that they're going to face one day on their own.
Absolutely. And you've touched on a lot of great things that you're doing at St. A, and that's just really the tip of the iceberg. You have a website that really spells out to individuals on how they can be a foster parent, and of course there's a phone number where they can contact you with any questions or concerns. What is the website address and the phone number, please?
So it is growhope.net and 855-GROW-HOPE.
All right, and that is pretty much going to cover all of the great things that you're doing. Thank you, ladies, for coming by and painting a picture of why it's so important to open your home to a child and help change their lives. Thank you.
Thank you.
And these ladies are representing St. A, Nicole Ostrowski-Grasset. She serves as the Community Engagement Supervisor for St. A in Milwaukee, and Stephanie Allen is the St. A Community Engagement Specialist and a former foster adoptive parent. For more information on St. A, log on to growhope.net or call 1-855-GROW-HOPE. And that is going to do it for today's show. I'm your host, Andrea Williams. To see past shows, remember you can go to youtube.com/OurIssuesMilwaukee. And as always, I thank you for watching, and I do hope you join us again next week as we take another look at Our Issues Milwaukee. Have a great day.